started in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. Lois and David had been married for decades. Lois Reese was known as a friendly grandmother. Then one day in March 2018, her husband, David Reese, simply vanished. Lois told people he'd gone on a fishing trip. She even continued using his car, his phone, and his checks. But when weeks passed with no sign of David, friends began to worry. Police entered the Reese home and found David's body hidden in their bathroom, shot dead. One bullet to the chest, his bank accounts drained, and Lois, gone. She had vanished like smoke. Detectives discovered that after murdering her husband, Lois had driven across the country, withdrawing cash from his account. Investigators traced her trail through every casino camera, but she always stayed one step ahead. She knew how to blend in. Her age made her invisible. She was everyone's harmless grandma. No one saw the danger behind the smile. Security cameras caught her smiling at casinos, feeding slot machines with stolen money. But soon, her face was everywhere, on the news, in newspapers across state lines. Armed and dangerous. Yet even then, Lois Reese didn't run. She changed her strategy. She needed a new identity, and she knew exactly how to get one. By April 2018, Lois reached Fort Myers Beach, Florida, a sunny paradise where no one knew her past. That's where she met Pamela Hutchinson, a kind, generous woman who looked strikingly similar to her. Pamela had a warm smile and a trusting nature. Lois saw more than a friend in her. She saw a way to erase her old life. The two women were seen having dinner together. They laughed, shared drinks, and returned to Pamela's condo. 2 days later, Pamela was found dead in her bathroom, shot with the same .22 caliber pistol used to kill David Reese. Her ID, credit cards, and car were gone. So was Lois. Lois began living as Pamela Hutchinson. Lois Reese drove south in Pamela's white Acura, wearing sunglasses and dyed hair. She began withdrawing money from Pamela's bank accounts and using her ID to check into hotels. Her crime wasn't born out of panic, it was driven by compulsion. She didn't kill in rage or self-defense. She killed with calculation. Lois Reese was addicted not only to gambling, but to control. Detectives tracked her path using license plate readers and ATM withdrawals. On April 19, 2018, a sharp-eyed restaurant employee in South Padre Island, Texas, recognized her from the news. Lois was sitting alone, eating calmly, her white Acura parked outside. In her bag, they found Pamela's ID, keys, and the murder weapon. She was sentenced to life in prison without parole. After her conviction, detectives revealed something even darker. In her car, they found maps with marked locations and names of women who physically resembled her. Pamela Hutchinson wasn't the end. She was just the first step in a planned chain of identity thefts and murders. If Lois hadn't been caught in Texas, she might have continued. Today, Lois Reese sits behind bars, her hair gray, her eyes as calm as ever. December morning in 2010. A police officer was searching for a missing woman, Amber Lynn Costello, a young escort who had vanished. He wasn't expecting to find anything, but then his dog stopped, stiffened, and began to dig. At first, it looked like a pile of driftwood tangled in weeds. Then the smell hit, a human shape beneath a tattered burlap sack. A woman, carefully wrapped, deliberately placed, as if someone wanted her hidden. But not too hidden. That was the first body, the beginning of something that would take over a decade to unravel. It wasn't long before Maureen Brainerd Barnes was discovered nearby, then Megan Waterman, then Melissa Barthelemy. For women, gone from the world, hidden along the same lonely stretch of road. The media named the unknown predator. The police stayed silent. No one knew. The killer's precision was terrifying. Everything had a pattern, almost like a map. Weeks passed. Months passed. More bodies were discovered. Gilgo Beach had become a graveyard. But somewhere out there, the killer behind it all watched. He liked the fear. He liked the control. He liked how invisible he was. The bodies discovered along Gilgo Beach had names now, at least to the investigators and the families desperately searching for answers. Melissa Barthelemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello. Each had vanished under almost identical circumstances. Each had advertised online. Each had met a client who seemed calm, professional, trustworthy. But trust was the last thing any of them would feel. Detectives worked tirelessly to reconstruct their final hours. Amber Lynn's phone pinged on cell towers after she disappeared. Someone was still using it. Someone who knew every detail of her life. Someone watching, calculating. Messages were sent to her family. Cryptic, cruel, taunting. Every call traced, yet always one step ahead. The man moved like a ghost everywhere and nowhere at once. Then came Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and then Megan Waterman, and Amber Lynn Costello. Investigators began to see a pattern. These weren't random disappearances. This was hunting. They built a profile. A man in his 40s or 50s, educated, meticulous, likely living near Long Island. He had a job that allowed privacy, knowledge of roads and beaches, and the patience to plan for years. But the trail went cold. 2011 passed, then 2012. Leads dried up. The task force disbanded. The headlines faded. The killer vanished. And with him, the world's attention. Years later, in 2022, a new task force quietly reopened the case. This time, they had something he hadn't accounted for: modern technology. Old cell tower data was reanalyzed. Patterns emerged. Years had passed since Maureen Brainerd Barnes disappeared. The world had almost forgotten her, almost forgotten Megan Waterman, Melissa Barthelemy, Amber Lynn Costello, and the others. But the investigation had not. A new task force had revived old files, scoured old evidence, and re-examined the dunes. The bodies, meticulously placed and long decayed, told a story of control. Investigators noticed something chilling, a method to the madness. Each victim's last known movements, the precise disposal locations, the careful wrapping. It all pointed to someone who planned for years, who thought years of darkness would protect him. The first body, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, was found by a police officer walking his dog along the dunes. The dog stopped, stiffened, barked. The officer bent down, brushing sand aside, and saw it. A week later, Megan Waterman was discovered. At first, the similarities were chilling. Burlap wrapping, remote location, timing that suggested she had been killed and left. Then came Melissa Barthelemy. Her disappearance had seemed small at first. A missing person report filed quietly, the kind the world glances over. But the dunes told a story. The careful placement, the methodical disposal. Amber Lynn Costello was next. Her family received the phone calls investigators would later trace. Cruel, taunting, impossible to ignore. The killer had watched, calculated, and struck again. Each victim connected through the same online networks. Each one disappearing after a meeting with a client who seemed perfect, polite, harmless. Years of silence, decades of fear, and then, after more than a decade, the truth finally emerged. Rex Heuermann, a Long Island architect whose ordinary life had hidden a chilling. He had chosen Amber Lynn Costello, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes not at random, but because they were vulnerable, trusting, and could be manipulated. For years, he moved like a ghost, untouchable, until relentless investigators using modern technology finally closed in. Heuermann was sentenced to life without parole. Jennifer Pan sat at her desk. Outside, a car stopped. Chaos erupted instantly. Furniture was knocked over. Glass shattered. Screams rang through the house. Minutes later, police arrived. The front door was wide open. Drawers were pulled out, papers scattered, the television left on. Jennifer Pan was upstairs, tied, terrified, and shaken. She told the officers that strangers had broken in, demanded money, and shot her parents. Her father survived but was seriously injured. Her mother was dead. Neighbors were in shock. A normal family destroyed in one night. Detectives began collecting evidence. Footprints, phone records, and broken locks. Nothing clearly explained what had happened. Jennifer Pan was cooperative. She answered questions calmly, gave her account of the night, and showed where she had been. Her fear seemed real, her story consistent. The public saw a tragic event. A young woman, nearly a witness to her family's death, traumatized but alive. Detectives had questions. Small details didn't add up. The timing of calls, some items untouched, some doors locked strangely. But at this point, there was nothing to suggest Jennifer had done anything wrong. For now, she was a survivor. The night had ended. But the truth, the full story behind the attack was still buried. The next morning, investigators returned to the Pan house. Every corner was examined. Every drawer, every cupboard, every window frame was checked for fingerprints, footprints, and signs of forced entry. Jennifer Pan's story remained the same. Strangers had broken in, tied her up, and shot her parents. She answered questions carefully, showing where she had been, how she had tried to escape, what she had seen. Her fear was real, her terror believable. Detectives focused on the physical evidence. Footprints were found outside 3 sets. The front door lock had scratches consistent with a forced entry. No weapons were left behind. No fingerprints matched anyone in the system. It seemed like a random, violent robbery gone wrong. Police interviewed neighbors. Some heard screaming. Others saw a car leave late at night. But all were vague. Nothing concrete. Jennifer's father remained hospitalized. His memory fractured from his injuries. He could only confirm that strangers had entered the house. Detectives turned to forensics. Phone records showed several calls from unknown numbers late the night before. CCTV from nearby streets revealed the same car seen outside the house. A rental, parked briefly, then gone. The timeline was tight. The attack had been quick, precise, calculated. Every piece of evidence suggested outside perpetrators. The investigators began mapping the events hour by hour, trying to reconstruct the attack. Days passed. The investigation continued. Jennifer Pan cooperated fully. She described her parents' injuries, how she had been restrained. Her story remained consistent. No contradictions. For the police, Jennifer Pan was a survivor. A young woman, trapped in a violent crime, scarred and shaken, but innocent. Yet the case had one problem: no suspects, no fingerprints, no weapons, no confessions. Detectives doubled down. They interviewed the neighbors again, traced the rental car, checked every possible lead. Hours of analysis revealed the crime had been planned carefully. Someone knew the house, the routines, the layout. But who and why? But detectives felt it. Something didn't sit right. Not suspicion of her, just of the attack itself. No forced entry in some rooms. Valuables untouched. Timing that suggested the intruders had practiced. They checked security cameras again, focusing on angles they had previously ignored. They compared it to witness accounts. The result was clear. The attackers had executed the plan quickly and efficiently, with knowledge of the house's interior and routines. Random robbery didn't make sense. Detectives interviewed friends, extended family, anyone who might shed light on the family's daily life. The killer remained unknown. After weeks of investigation, painstaking analysis, and hundreds of interviews, detectives finally reconstructed the full story of that night. The intruders, the attack, the chaos. Every step had been planned not by strangers, but from inside the house. Jennifer Pan, the young woman who had seemed so terrified, so cooperative, had orchestrated the entire crime. It was a perfect plan. She had manipulated others, men with criminal backgrounds, to carry out the home invasion. She gave them precise instructions. The motive? Years of pressure, years of lies, a life built on control, expectations, and surveillance. She had wanted to remove the obstacles in her life. Her parents' death was not random. It was deliberate. Forensic evidence, phone records, and witness testimony revealed the truth. The shots that killed her mother, the attack on her father, every staged detail of the home invasion. She had planned the attack down to the minute, making it appear as if she were a terrified survivor. Her calm, her precision, her cooperation with police, all part of the plan. The men she hired were caught and confessed everything. They confirmed her instructions. They confirmed her role. When detectives confronted Jennifer, She remained composed, calculating. The mask of innocence, the same mask the public had believed, finally shattered. The truth was ruthless. The perfect daughter had engineered the perfect crime. The headlines changed overnight, from tragic survivor to cold-blooded murderer. From grieving daughter to a mastermind who had killed her mother, nearly killed her father. The truth is hidden until now. Her mother's death, her father's injuries, every move that night, planned. Remember, monsters are not only in movies, they are among us. Brooklyn, Iowa. July evening in 2018, that silence broke. A girl vanished, as if the earth itself swallowed her whole. Her name was Molly Tibbetts, 20 years old, a runner, a student, a daughter. That summer, she stayed with her boyfriend's family while he was out of town. Every evening, she'd go for a run through the cornfields, her red running shoes tracing the same path through the quiet streets. That evening was no different, except that she never came back. When she missed work the next morning, her friends assumed she overslept. By noon, they were calling. By evening, they were driving through every street they knew. Nothing. No phone, no wallet, no signal. It was as if she had disappeared mid-stride. Brooklyn, Iowa, population barely 1,400, woke up to a nightmare. Posters went up on lampposts. Farmers checked their fields. Drones hovered over corn rows. Hundreds of volunteers joined the search. But as the hours turned into days, unease began to grow. Some said she might been taken by someone she knew. Others whispered about passing trucks, strangers, and dark roads that swallow secrets. Police interviewed everyone close to her, her friends, her co-workers, her boyfriend, away on work but devastated, her family who refused to give up hope. Still no trace. Days turned to weeks. The community held vigils, candles flickering against the night sky. News stations arrived. The FBI joined the hunt, and slowly, suspicion began to spread. Everyone had theories. Everyone had someone in mind. A local man said he saw Molly jogging near the highway. Another claimed he noticed a black car driving unusually slow that night. Rumors exploded across social media, each more confident, each more cruel. One name, then another, then another. 3, maybe 4 people, all under silent suspicion. The boyfriend, a neighbor, co-worker, even a farmer who once waved to her on her route. No one knew who to trust anymore. But deep within hours of CCTV footage, in a blur of streetlights and car reflections, investigators would soon notice something. A car, circling, slowing down as Molly ran past, then vanishing down a side road she never returned from. And that, detectives would later say, was the first time they saw the shadow. Because what started as a missing person case was about to reveal something much darker. Someone had been watching Molly for days. Someone who lived close enough to see her routine. Someone who knew exactly when to strike. The hunt for a missing girl was turning into the chase for a predator. And the deeper they dug, the closer they came to a truth no one wanted to face. The search for Molly Tibbetts had entered its 3rd week. Posters covered every street in Brooklyn, Iowa. Investigators turned to the people closest to Molly. Dalton Jack, her boyfriend, was working more than 100 miles away. Had spoken to her the night she disappeared a video call before she went for her run. Dalton cooperated with police from the start, but his calm interviews didn't satisfy everyone. Then there was Scott Larson, a neighbor who lived near the route Molly usually ran. He told police he'd seen her that night, running past his mailbox around 8:30 p.m. But his story changed slightly each time he repeated it. At first, he said she waved to him. Later, he said she looked distracted. Which one was true? Detectives also looked into a local worker, someone who drove through that area often. He delivered supplies for a nearby farm, his routes overlapping with Molly's jogging path. He told police he didn't know her personally, but he admitted he'd seen her running before. His schedule matched the timeline. His car, a black Chevy Malibu, caught investigators' attention. That detail couldn't be ignored. The FBI analyzed hours of surveillance video from homes and businesses around Brooklyn. In one clip, Molly appeared running down East Pershing Drive. Seconds later, a black car drove past her. Then again a few blocks later. And again. The driver wasn't rushing anywhere. He slowed down every time she appeared on camera. It was deliberate. Detectives checked license plate databases. Each possible match was reviewed carefully. Days passed before one name surfaced, a person living and working close to town, someone no one had ever suspected. Meanwhile, Laura Calderwood and Rob Tibbets pleaded publicly for answers. Theories flooded social media. Some blamed strangers. Others blamed people who loved her. Everyone wanted a villain. No one knew who it really was. That black Chevy Malibu was following the same turns, the same timing, every single time. Someone was tracking Molly's run. Not by accident. Detectives finally traced the car to a small home outside town. He wasn't a friend or a family member or a neighbor. Who he was, what he did. His name was Christian Bahena Rivera, 24 years old. A farm worker employed at Yerraby Farms, just a few miles from Molly's route. He had lived quietly in the area for years, unnoticed by nearly everyone. Christian told police he saw Molly jogging. He said he followed her in his black Chevy Malibu, drove beside her for a moment, and then she told him to leave her alone. It was a story that made no sense, and yet it led investigators to the truth. Early the next morning, Christian guided officers down a gravel road outside Guernsey. He stopped near an open field of tall corn, the plants reaching higher than his shoulders. He pointed to a spot deep inside the rows. Detectives moved carefully through the stalks, and there, hidden under leaves and soil, they found what everyone in Brooklyn had been searching for. Molly Cecilia Tibbets. He kills her. The discovery ended a month of searching and broke the hearts of an entire state. Her family, Laura Calderwood and Rob Tibbets, were told that their daughter had been found. Volunteers who had searched the roads wept. Brooklyn fell silent. Christian Bahena Rivera was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. During the trial, he changed his story again, claiming others forced him to help. But the evidence told the truth. The car, the phone records, the DNA. It all led back to him. In May 2021, a jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Orvault, France. One family, no member longer alive. Car untouched. Police enter. Everything in place. Except the people. On the floor, blood that shouldn't be there. Dinner waiting. Phones still charging. For lives erased. No signs of struggle. No bodies. Only questions. And somewhere in the evidence, a monster waiting to be found. On February 16, 2017. Everything ordinary, except the Trodek family. The first signs appeared in small, unnoticed ways. Pascal's car remained parked. Police arrived. The front door creaked open. Inside, the family home looked untouched. Dinner on the table, plates stacked. A phone still charging. But the floor told another story. Someone had tried to erase evidence. Someone meticulous. Upstairs, Charlotte Trodek's laptop glowed faintly. Blood on the chain. No forced entry. No theft. Nothing taken except the Trodeks themselves. Investigators spread across the house. Every detail recorded. Fingerprints lifted. Traces analyzed. Nothing seemed random. 200 kilometers away, something glimmered in the dirt. An ID card. Another. Clothes. Papers. Photographs. Fragments of Pascal, Bridget, Charlotte, and Sebastian littered along a roadside. Tests returned. DNA matched the house. One more profile appeared. Unknown. Linked. Back in Orvault, investigators found a footprint upstairs. Not Pascal. Not Sebastian. Someone else moved through the home that night. Phone records wiped. Bank accounts silent. Every trace deliberate. Every clue calculated. Concrete dust. A floor panel pried open revealed small fragments. Bones? Remnants of the Trodek family, arranged with chilling care. Forensics confirmed it. The Trodek family was gone. Investigators traced a long history, Inheritance grudges buried beneath years of civility. Someone waited, planned, executed, measured each step with control. The question remained, not how but who. Investigators traced the family's last known movements. Pascal Trodek's office, Bridget Trodek's workplace, Charlotte's university, Sebastian's school. All empty, all silent. DNA confirmed the worst. The items belonged to the Trodek family. Inside the house, forensic teams re-examined the floorboards. A footprint upstairs. Not Pascal, not Sebastian. Different size, different tread. Someone else had been here. Detectives checked phones, messages, and online activity. Everything wiped. Every record erased or altered. It was impossible to trace. The more they uncovered, the more precise the operation appeared. Nothing chaotic, nothing left to chance. Investigators followed leads to relatives, neighbors, even acquaintances. Each one denied knowledge, each alibi checked and rechecked. But the traces didn't lie. Someone had orchestrated this from inside the family's circle. Evidence pointed to planning, not rage. Forensics reconstructed timelines. No bodies yet, only traces. No confession, only silence. For now, the killer remained unseen. Every new lead was a dead end, or so it seemed. Neighbors recalled nothing unusual. Friends reported last contact days before the disappearance. Nothing pointed to chaos. Nothing pointed to panic. Inside the house, detectives found subtle traces overlooked before. Each clue hinted at someone watching, waiting. Someone who orchestrated the family's fate step by step. And still, the question remained. Who had planned every detail? Weeks turned into months. The Trodek family had been erased. The motive was simple, brutal, and human. For months, the police had chased every lead, questioning neighbors, friends, even distant relatives. Every clue seemed to lead nowhere. The killer was none other than Hubert Cowison, the brother-in-law of Pascal Trodek. The one the family trusted. The man who had laughed with them. Hubert's motive was brutal and simple. Greed and obsession. Hubert believed the Trodeks were hiding gold, a fortune he thought belonged to him. That obsession consumed him. In court, the truth was undeniable. Evidence, confessions, forensic proof. Justice came hard. 30 years in prison.